I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5 o'clock. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we will have the oath of new directors, and Kathy Hoffman is going to present that.
We have 3 directors that need to be sworn in this evening. Under the law, all public officers must take oath of the office before entering their duties. So may I have you please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. Do you want them to the side or you want them in front? You're good, however, so I could see their faces. There you go. Perfect. Please state your name. All 3 of you at the same time.
I, Rebecca,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take these obligations freely
that I take these obligations freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will and faithfully
and that I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, you are officially sworn in. I have some certificates for you before you go take your seats. Rebecca. Welcome aboard.
Congratulations. Congratulations to everyone. Let it be noted that all directors are present. And are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda tonight.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. And public comment, do we have anybody for public comment, Mrs. Williams?
There is nobody online. Does anybody here have public comment? Nope, I think we're good to proceed.
All right, we'll move on to community reports. Start with Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, I am Sergeant Mark Rios of the Phelan Station, Victor Valley Station, and this is my area and responsibility. So what I'm going to be going over is our calls for service, how many reports, and basically what our call volume was and what the calls were. So for the last month of November, we had a total of, this is for Piñon Hills, my apologies, for Piñon Hills. We had a total of 299 calls for service, and out of those calls, we had 32 reports generated. That means either the criminal prosecution that we took a report for and sent it for to the district attorney's office. So the number one call for the Piñon Hills area was information calls. Information calls could be anything from a dog in the roadway to, hey, medical's rolling, to a call, and either they need us or don't. So that's what information is, basically information that's for us to listen up to. The next is going to be follow-ups. Follow-ups are basically either detectives or deputies going back out and either recontacting or doing some sort of follow-up for the crime or investigation that they're currently investigating. 3 is a miscellaneous incident. Miscellaneous incident isn't necessarily a crime, but it's an incident that happens and it kind of bordering on a crime or not crime, so we'll document it as a miscellaneous incident and pull a report number for that. And then number 4 is going to be welfare checks. There was a lot of welfare checks this past month. People calling in saying, can you please check on my loved one, or whatever it may be. And the last one is going to be disturbance calls. We had a lot of music calls and people calling in because their peace was being disturbed. So that was in the Hills. For the Phelan area, we had a total of 676 calls, and out of those, we only had 65 reports taken. Our number one for that area would be information calls. Again, just calls informing us of what's happening. Our number 2 is again to be follow-ups. And then our third for the Phelan area is going to be traffic stops. We conducted a great deal of traffic stops, whether it be speeding, running stop signs, what have you. So traffic is picking up heavily in the area. Number 4 for us was a welfare check for the Phelan area. And lastly, we had an excessive amount of CPS follow-ups. Now, CPS follow-up is basically somebody has contacted Child Protective Services, Child Protective Services they call it now, and we are mandated to have to go out and do an investigation. Whether it's substantiated, unsubstantiated, founded, we will go out, and in all those cases, we will take a report. We have to send it back to Child Protective Services that we went out, and this was our report, and here's the investigation that we conducted. Anything?
No questions.
Question, we had the incident a while ago with the rock throwing at the cars on Highway 138. Are we anywhere, do we have any information on that?
So that was a CHP to handle. The delicate balance between CHP and us on whose jurisdiction is what. Anything basically that's on the roadway, technically a CHP. When it becomes our issue is when, say, assault with a deadly weapon. Now somebody's trying to run somebody over on the roadway. Then it kind of comes more towards the sheriff. But people in the roadway, objects being thrown at vehicles, that's a CHP, and they're not here tonight, so I apologize. I don't have any information on that.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Just a thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for everything.
Good evening. My name is Brian James, Battalion Chief here. Phelan, out of Hesperia is where my station is, but I cover Phelan, Piñon Hills area, as well as Wrightwood. Our calls for service for your area, this is Piñon Hills and Phelan area for our engine out of Station 10 here. They ran a total of 63 calls. They had 1 vegetation fire. This was this last month too, I'm sorry, this is month of November. They ran 1 vegetation fire, 1 structure fire, 1 vehicle fire, and then they had 6 other fires, which would be like dumpster fires or illegal burns, that kind of thing that on private properties. Then they had 48 medical calls and 5 traffic collisions and 1 traffic collision with extrication. It's a pretty busy month for the guys over here. Other than that, they've been out in the community this last couple of weeks with Sparkle for Christmas and getting all the toys and stuff. I don't remember where they were Saturday, but I know they had something going on out here.
Sunday.
Or Sunday?
Sunday was here.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah, okay. And I'm not sure if they have anything else planned. I haven't seen the schedule, so, but I know that they're out in the community here, they're out in the communities in Wrightwood, and out in Hesperia and everywhere, so you'll see them out and around doing the Sparkle Love stuff, and that's about all I got, unless you guys have any questions.
Nope, just want to thank the gentleman for delivering Santa Claus to our Christmas tree lighting. We
Oh, yeah?
appreciate it
Okay.
very much.
Got it right on the fire engine?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And is that it for community reports? Okay. That will move on to consent items. Does anybody have any consent items they would like to pull? And if not, is there a motion to approve the consent items?
A motion to approve?
Okay, do we have a
I'll
second? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Hearing no one opposed, motion passes. And there were no matters removed from the consent calendar. No presentations and appointments, and we'll move on to 6A, continued new agenda items. Mr. Bartz, discussion and possible action regarding election of officers.
Yes, this is the time of year that the board has chosen the president, vice president, and staff is recommending that the board have a vote and pick your president, and vice president for 2025.
Sound good? Do we have a,
I'll nominate Rebecca for president.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none opposed, motion passes. And then we have
And then the second one is the vice
Vice
president.
President.
I nominate Deborah Phillips for vice president.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, that motion passes. All right. Move on to 6B, discussion and possible action regarding committee assignments. Mr. Bartz.
Thank you. This one I'll pass off to Rebecca, and this is for the committee assignments for 2025.
Thank you. Just a couple of change-ups I'd like to suggest and run it by my fellow board members. For legislative, Deborah would like to stay and has asked Chuck to join her in that committee. Engineering, I would like to bring Greg on to that committee. Finance, Chuck and Gina. Mr. Kennedy, I have a question for you on that item, if you don't mind.
Sure.
For Director Mills on the Finance Committee, do we have any conflict of interest in her approving expenditures when we purchase items from her business, Mills Hardware?
Great question. The issue of whether or not there would be a conflict of interest is one that's covered by the Political Reform Act and also FPPC regulations. I am not aware of her position and whether or not she has any financial interest that would trigger a conflict. But if she does, then she would have to recuse herself from all decisions that would be made as a board member regarding any financial interest that she has in her private capacity. So that is a really important question that I certainly needs further investigation as to whether a conflict exists under the Political Reform Act and under the FPPC regulations, which define the matters that constitute a material financial interest that that board members would have to recuse themselves from on any action. And the important part is it's not just voting, but any action that would be part of the decision-making process on issues in which board members have a private financial interest. So that may be an issue that I guess I would need to get a greater understanding of what that financial interest is, or even an opinion from the FPPC as to whether or not that is the kind of material financial interest that would trigger a potential conflict that would then trigger a potential recusal from the decision-making process.
Okay, so at this time, are you comfortable with me putting her on Finance Committee, and then we can double check on that if we have to make any changes?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to handle that. And then in the meantime, perhaps I could have a greater understanding of what that financial interest is, and there can be a discussion about a path forward that doesn't put either any of the directors or individually or the district and collectively in any issue. And that's always sort of the conundrum personally that I have as counsel for the district, is if there is a conflict of interest, the penalty is not to the district. The penalty is to the individual director, which could include removal from office. So this is an excellent job by the board president identifying this issue. It's definitely an issue worth spotting, because it could result in removal from office if there is a decision that's being made that affects one's financial interest. What it doesn't do is it doesn't affect the district. And as district counsel, it puts me in an interesting position, because I don't represent any individual directors in their separate personal capacity, only the district. And so if there is a conflict, that really is an issue that individual directors need to evaluate separate from the process with the district. Nevertheless, I'm more than willing to help out in that process, and would be glad to give whatever advice that would be necessary. I'm not aware of that interest, and so I think for me, getting a better idea of what that means and what the district's practice has been with respect to using that hardware store, and how those decisions are being made, and whether that means that there should be a change in the way the district handles purchases through that hardware store, whether that should be a remedy. Those are the kind of things that would need to be discussed moving forward. I don't have, to your point, President Kiyaba, I do not have a problem with the appointment onto that committee, but there certainly needs to be additional research that is done on the decision-making process as it relates to any issue for which a conflict may exist.
Okay. Gina, are you comfortable with that decision at this time?
I am.
Okay, great. Because we are very happy to have her, so we will definitely make this work. Thank you.
Steve, this would, for reference, it'd be almost identical. Swap out the name with Ken Anderson. And
Yeah,
so
I remember.
just for reference.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure it's a work,
There definitely, we did do a workaround regarding that, so that all of the interests were protected, that decisions were being made that didn't implicate any individual directors' potential conflict. So certainly there's a workaround. I just was not aware that that was a potential area for a conflict. But yes, with former Director Anderson, we were able to resolve that with a practice that is both administratively, operationally, and in the manner it was presented to the board. So to get a better idea of what that interest is, and then finding a way to ensure that there isn't a problem. for any meeting.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so to finish off the committees, Deborah would like to stay on solid waste and has requested that Greg join her there, if that's okay. And I would stay on parks and have Gina Mills join me there. So that would round out all of the committees. Does anyone, comments, questions? Everybody okay with all that?
I'm good with it.
Perfect. All right, appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So do we have a motion for the committee reassignments?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, motion passes. Mr. Bart's update on district projects.
With that, I'm going to turn it over to George, but just a quick update. We had SDRMA come in over the past week and do an evaluation of the entire district, operations from the safety records we have, to the field department, to the staff. That report will be coming out. Thank you, Sean, for arranging that. And I'm very happy to say that we came out with an A, and we're doing better than most districts are and doing quite a bit more. So kudos to staff on that. And then with that, I'll pass it on to George and Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I don't know if this is on or not, but can you hear me?
Yep.
You're okay? President Williams, President Meyer, newly elected board. And Gina Mills, welcome. I have three updates, and we'll start with the Civic Center project. The revisions to the civil plans were submitted to the county for plan check, and that's what we revisions. We did check with the county. We anticipate to have those back to us by December 17th. That's what it says on the website, is December 17th. Pending is the review of the bid documents for this project. We're just waiting for the design plans approvals from the county. So we anticipate bringing this back to the board to solicit approval to solicit bids for this project in January. Park expansion, that's the 14-acre project. The project was approved by the San Bernardino County Planning Commission last week. That was issuing the CUP for the project. Pending is the Board of Supervisors formal approval in February. At that time, they'll issue us an NOD for the project, and that's kind of what is needed for the ITP. That's the incidental take permit for the Joshua Tree. That is the Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act that we applied earlier this year. They did issue a revised plan through the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's about 290 some pages of reading. I did get a chance to kind of go through the plan. It's a bit tighter in what is allowed and what is not allowed. Utilities, businesses, development, and and the public in general are affected by this new plan. The CSD was mentioned, Phelan Piñon Hills was mentioned in the plan as the utility. There are criteria and funding that was mentioned in the plan, as well as protection easement, which was kind of interesting to kind of read, that they're proposing a protection easement of these Joshua trees. One thing I did read is the management of these common use places, like for example, Cleghorn Trail, the Manzanita Trail. They kind of set the guidelines for management of these trails, whether new trails to be formed that would not permit any vehicles close or closer than 40 feet of a Joshua tree. I kind of wonder what they're going to do with the existing trails that are within that 40 feet. whether that'll be grandfathered in or not. But who knows what that's going to look like. Monitoring and reporting is also part of the plan and how that's going to look like. That'll be done by the state agency. Department of Fish and Wildlife would be part of that. I believe the district, in our case, working with the Phelan Park project, there has to be some coordination with us, with the CSD. Considering that we have 1,973 Joshua trees that we have to address for this project. The plan is being brought to Fish and Wildlife by the 1st of January for adoption. We don't know what the mitigations are going to be. We did hear it's going to be a bit more than what we anticipated. They haven't released a table. They're still working through with the other entities. The tribes were brought to the table, and I believe that's what's pending, is what that mitigation is going to look like. The mitigation, those fees will be used for monitoring and reporting, as well as protection, land purchase, and things like that. And kind of waiting on that fee definition for that project. This will also be brought back for reevaluation in 2033. And as stated in the plan, that most likely it would become an endangered species, right? Currently, we're at a conservation measures. It could become an endangered species, and we're not sure what that's going to look like. I can only anticipate what the initial ITP looked like. So enough with the Joshua tree. Anything with the Joshua tree. I mean, my plan is to kind of dive into the chapters that are more related to our project, more with CSD. That's still to come, so I'll probably be able to provide more information once I go through the plan itself. Any questions on the park expansion? Great. The enhancement project, that is the pickleball court, the community garden. These plans were submitted and received with a comment regarding the greenhouse. We are in a FEMA zone. They asked that we raise the greenhouse 2 feet, and that just was not going to work out for the existing Phelan Park site. We did meet with the county, I believe it was Monday, and we discussed, or actually yesterday, my days are mixed up. Was it yesterday? And there is a solution that is being entertained and is going to be confirmed by county. Unfortunately, the third party who plan checked our project is outside of county, so they have to really consult with the county to get that approval. They follow the rules, they follow the book. County says, you know, we have potentially a resolution to this. So there has been a delay with receiving approved plans from the county. They are aware that there's an urgency to get the plans approved so we can get this out for bidding to meet a deadline for funding. And we did receive bid documents review from our legal counsel, so we're just waiting for the plans. So we should have a plan, and the plans revised and submitted to the county maybe by Friday. It should be a simple resolution. We hope. There's a couple ideas that are thrown out. With that being said, I have nothing more to report.
Any questions for Mr. Cardenas? No? Thank you, Mr. Cardenas.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Wright?
We closed escrow on the property for well 18 on the north side of Palmdale, Beakley, and Begonia day before yesterday. We plan on bringing CEQA to the board sometime in January, as well as request for proposals shortly after that, so we can stay on our timeline for October 1st, 2027. And that's all I have. Oh, and as Don mentioned, we did bring in a risk assessment director from SDRMA. She evaluated basically like a holistic ground-up approach across all aspects of the district, parks, water operations, office, reviewed our safety training procedures, policies. She had a little bit of input, but as Don mentioned, kind of came out of it with about an A- with a couple follow-ups, such as a heat illness prevention plan. We implemented a wildfire smoke plan today. So just a couple little plans, but yeah, they were very pleased with our efforts. So.
Director Snyder.
Yeah. Was the heat and illness prevention plan, was that for the office versus the field, the new reg that came out?
Yes and no. We're going to adopt two. There's going to be an indoor and an outdoor. There's going to be an indoor and an outdoor that we adopt. The outdoor, we don't quite trigger, but we're going to adopt one anyways as a preventative measure. All of the training, safety, cooling, clothing is being supplied. It just wasn't formalized into a plan. One of our other suggestions was incorporating the district's evacuation plan. We're going to incorporate that into the district's emergency response plan. And that was basically the 3 bullet points she had. And tomorrow we'll be awarding every single person, unless 1 or 2 in the district, qualified for a safety certificate through SDRMA. We are all general safety certified. And those will be distributed tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Wright? Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 7, which is committee reports and comments. So, Engineering Committee.
We haven't met for the last couple of months, but we do have a meeting next Wednesday, if that's good for you. Perfect, thank you. Engineering is 4:30.
Finance Committee, we have not met for a while either, and I do not know when the next meeting is. Legislative Committee?
We were due to meet yesterday, but because I wasn't sworn in, we canceled it. So we need to set a future date for as soon as possible. I think the next one isn't planned until like March or something, but I think we need one sooner to do that one yesterday. So we can also move the time and date as well, if need be, if that works better for you. What works best for you.
Okay.
So I don't know what'll work for you.
I think it's okay so far. Yeah.
Do we want to do it the same time, this next month, for the same date?
Yeah, I think we'd like to have a legislative meeting, probably early January.
Okay. Normally, it's the second Tuesday of the month. Did it happen since we do it second Tuesday, if that works?
Yeah, we'll look at the schedule and get
Okay.
back to you, but I think that'd be fine.
Okay, we'll go with that.
And then Parks, Recreation, and Street Lighting?
Last meeting we had, we just went over the end of year activities and just wanted to thank everyone from the public that came out to our Christmas tree lighting on Friday night and for the incredible work of the staff as usual. We couldn't pull it off without them, so thank you.
That was a great event. Thank you, guys. And then Waste and Recycling.
We'll have to set a meeting. We normally have them before the engineering committee, so if that works for you to meet at that time next week.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work before 4:30.
Okay, do we want to reschedule this for 4:30 on another day?
Yeah, it'll have to be a different day because of engineering.
Yeah.
So I can get with you guys on schedule.
Okay, then we'll schedule it and then we can lock that in as being the norm.
That'll work.
Okay, that works.
Okay. And that's it. It sounds like we got it all settled. Staff and General Managers Report, item 8. Are there any staff reports beyond what is in the agenda materials?
I have nothing more to report tonight, except welcome to the new and returning board members and the existing board. Congratulations on the election.
And then we'll move on to Directors' Reports. Director Phillips.
I attended Aqua last week and had wonderful conversations with people from all over the state. realize that there's a lot of change coming from a lot of people, that there's optimism again. So I'm hoping that continues. The state will continue to pull things down, it looks like, from what everybody's saying, though, so.
Thank you. And welcome, Director Mills. Do you have any comments?
Just that I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Schneider?
Yeah, and congratulations to our incumbents and to Gina, our newly elected board member. I look forward to working with you as well. And then I'd like to thank the community for all the attendance at our Christmas tree lighting event. It was a packed house, and it's nice to see that our residents come out and enjoy what's available to you through our parks, and also the staff that put on that event. So nothing happens without staff's involvement in getting these events up and going, and I think it went good this year, and the tree lit the first time. So, great. Thank you.
Director Kuyava?
Thank you. Would also like to welcome Miss Gina Mills to the table. Excited to have you. And also acknowledge, since he wouldn't let us embarrass him, Mr. Mark Roberts, for his longtime dedication on this board, and he will truly be missed as a board member. Thank you.
And I would like to congratulate all three of you also, and that is it for me. Oh, no, thank you for the Christmas lighting ceremony. You guys did an excellent job. Staff did a great job. Rebecca, you did a great job emceeing the event. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, how much did you go through?
Wow.
Wow. There you go. Make sure it's hot chocolate. We'll move on to item 10, correspondence and information. Ms. Williams, will you please review the correspondence?
Yes, thank you. So we had the flyers that went out in our billing and were distributed in the office. A couple of these events have already passed. The tree lighting ceremony, which, as you heard, had a great turnout. We had the Christmas painting class on December 7th. And we have 2 upcoming events this weekend on the 14th. We have the kids baking class, and then the free tire day from 8 to 12 at the CR&R yard. And then the final one is the how to protect your pipes this winter, just information that goes out to customers to help them.
Thank you. Then item 11, review of action items. Were there any prior meeting action items?
There were none.
And then are there any current meeting action items?
There were none, but I will get with all of you regarding scheduling and updating times if needed and dates, and possibly some special meetings needed in January as well.
Okay. And then set agenda for the next meeting. Looks like we already canceled the December 25th one. Sounds like a great idea to me.
I think everybody's occupied that evening.
And then we have a meeting scheduled for January 8th. Do any members of the board have any items you would like to add to the agenda for January 8th? Nope. Hearing none. And with that, meeting adjourned at 5:38.
My Grinch pajamas, December 25th.